All right, good evening and welcome to another Dilem-Monday. It's not that I ever like starting off with a bummer, but I do have sad news to report. Earlier today, we lost Blondie founding member and drummer Clem Burke. Clem Burke was kind of the perfect combination of Keith Moon and Ringo Starr. He gave, Blondie always gets kind of thrown in with the punks. He's the reason why. To the beauty and the grace and the new wave of Debbie Harry and Chris Stein, you had something a little rougher, a little dirtier. And just real quick, my real tangent before we get onto it, my grandmother of blessed memory was friends with the guys in Blondie. I talk a lot about my grandpa, a lot of stories about my grandpa and the record stores he would go to in Harlem when he was a kid. But my grandma was pretty badass too. On top of, she got to see Buddy Holly and the Crickets. She got to see Jackie Wilson in his beautiful shoes on stage. And she got to work at a place called Top Cat Studios. And there she got to meet some awesome people. She got to know, she got to know Leslie West. And among those people, she got to know the guys from Blondie. And I never heard her say anything but wonderful things about any of those guys. Jimmy Destry, Chris Stein, Debbie Harry, Clem. So those guys made some wonderful years for my grandmother, and I miss her dearly. I miss my grandpa dearly, and we're gonna miss Clem Burke dearly. So that's my quick tangent on that, because I felt it shouldn't be disregarded.
Can we announce our guest now?
Absolutely. So with a long-awaited return to Dilem-Monday, we have with us, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike Bondra. Woo! Welcome back. We can't hear you though. I think you're muted. Let me see if I
can you unmute him, Corey?
I'm seeing if I can. Unlike Zoom, I don't have that. Wait, maybe I do. Maybe I think unmute mic. Literally unmute mic. There's probably a button on your thing, like if you just tap the screen. Let me see if
it looks like it's on a phone. Maybe there's like a speaker phone, like a speaker thing that says.
Yeah, I'm seeing if I can get on my phone here to figure it out myself too.
Yeah, but in the meantime, Dave and James are back.
Yeah, like I never left.
Or you hit the wrong button. He's completely gone.
Oh Jesus!
But yeah, no, it's actually we had an interesting week here. We had the state of Connecticut once again has an NCAA champion. The girls won a record 12th. Gino has surpassed John Wooden. They were tied for a number of years since 2016 for 11 championships, but they now have 12.
Okay, if Mike is
absolutely one is bad enough, I cannot have two Corys in this house.
Let's see. Okay, so to my knowledge, on the bottom, the muting is at the bottom left hand, at least on my thing. But yeah. All right. So to not horrify my father with the fact that I'm half of his genetics,
only the good half.
But yeah, no. So yes, we've got NCAA champions again in the UCONN Husky ladies, who I forgot to add the S on the poster. I spelled lady like LADIE. It was supposed to be ladies.
Corey, I used to be in graphics. If you need someone to double check it before you post it, you let me know.
Yeah, probably not the worst idea on my own end. Probably should do that.
Just let AI do it. That never makes mistakes, right?
I have lots of mistakes because I trust Corey to do it all the time, and then I start screaming and yelling.
Funny.
Come on, every day. There's at least something. I'm like, how could you send this out? But hey,
coming from you.
Coming from, I check my work.
You are the self admitted king of malaprop.
Right, that's speaking.
That's even worse. That means you speak the wrong information to people.
Well, it's just pronounced.
I might forget. I might not have typed the last letter in a word, but you tell people the wrong information, thinking it's correct.
No, I just don't use the correct word or just say it incorrectly.
Well, are you having a moment of
Norm
malaprop?
Crosby had a phenomenal comedic career, being a malaprop genius, and I got to see him at Downingtown, Pennsylvania once. Pretty
Mazel.
cool.
Many mazels to you.
But anyway, there was another really cool thing, and we'll talk about all of them more in general. But Wayne Gretzky's goal record was broken this weekend.
Who would have thought?
That's
ever. Honestly.
No one. That was one of those records that was supposed to almost be untouchable.
His
Well, I
point
think the
total
other-
is untouchable.
Yeah, the points are untouchable.
And the assists too, completely untouchable.
Yeah, well, so that will never be broken.
Is it telling us we've been on live for like 3 hours?
No.
It says 7:31.
Interesting.
You're saying
Very.
something different?
I don't know. I also found out today some of the timing issues, like when I've been making the events, for the most recent episodes. Apparently, the computer down here is set to Pacific Standard Time, and I don't know how to change that. I went into my settings. I found the place you should be able to, but I could not change it. So that's why it's been looking like things have been starting at 11 when they haven't.
Skynet.
The Skynet.
It's closer than we think.
Apparently, California. If only it's apparently if I go on my computer, I'm going on a vacation to California.
I was going to say it could be worse things, but I really don't know how much worse.
And then speaking of California, speaking of Los Angeles, on a bunch of fronts. Last week we lost one of the greatest actors of all time, truly. And when we talk about the greats, when we talk about the Daniel Day-Lewises, when we talk about when we talk about the Douglas Fairbanks and the Charlie Chaplins, when we talk about these individuals, you cannot forget the likes of Val Kilmer. And I'm trying to think, with the exception of maybe like Robin Williams, of one guy who was in more of my favorite, like one singular actor who was in more of like my favorite movies.
You mean like Gene Hackman was?
I'm just
you
gonna
guys
say,
need to apologize for that one. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not gonna disrespect the guy. Was he a great actor? Yes. Greatest of all time? No, probably not.
Are we talking about Gene Hackman or Val Kilmer?
I'm still on Glenn Burke.
By the way, Dave, why does it say photo not available?
Because he has a sense of humor.
It's just not available. But live, you're here. So it's good.
It's alive.
Yeah, no,
it's upsetting.
I don't know if I'd put him in one of the greatest actors of all time, but I'm not going to say that he wasn't a really great actor.
He was a great actor. I agree with that. All time?
And
no way.
Iceman was a great character.
Yeah.
Great movie. So I will.
How many other actors can you, off the top of your head, name as many movies that they're in?
Gene Hackman.
Several actors who I'd be able to name more titles than Val Kilmer, honestly. And that's nothing against Val. That's just what I know.
And again, I don't, and maybe it was the fact that it's not just so many, it's how many of like my favorite movies between the time I was a kid till now, like, because obviously, if anyone who knows,
I'm going to hit you right with the guy that in Top Gun went against him. I think Maverick wins that fight.
Yeah, definitely.
No, what? No. Tom Cruise had but here's the thing. Tom Cruise watered down his filmography far and away.
What do you mean?
What?
How did he
Hi, sweet Jesus, the worst fucking first fucking accent in history.
You sure there's water in that Jameson's bottle?
Oh no, another one that I keep absolutely forgetting about that he was in.
Willow.
Yeah.
That wasn't.
Wait,
a movie.
are we talking about Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer?
Okay, no, but no. My
I'm
point.
jumping around a
Tom
lot.
Cruise had a lot of losers in his
Val Kilmer.
What?
Yeah.
There are a bunch of again. I don't know why I was so offended by Far and Away.
Because it was a terrible movie.
It was
that's the point. But
Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky was also a terrible movie.
Agreed.
It couldn't even be saved with Cameron Diaz and what's the Penelope Cruz. If you can't save a movie when you have two beautiful women like that, it's a really bad movie, and it was a really bad movie. And you know what? Tom Cruise had some terrible movies, but he's had some great movies. And his work, he probably did twice as many movies as Val Kilmer.
And he's been acting consistently for more than 4 decades now. So
also
a good actor is going to have some good ones and some bad ones in a catalog that heavy.
Also, find an actor who will climb up the Burj Khalifa just for a scene in a movie, or also hang on the side of a plane.
He only did that because Hollywood's like, oh yeah, I'm 5'4". Watch me do this.
Which, by the way, that he could pull off being Reacher. After watching the TV show Reacher.
I know he did. I still do not accept it, and I don't think I ever.
Yeah, after watching Reacher, the series on TV, how the hell did Tom Cruise play Reacher?
Money, that's how. Or Danny DeVito wasn't available. This is Hollywood we're talking about.
Do you think that back in the day, Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been the perfect Reacher as well?
I wouldn't be able to take it seriously.
Yeah, they would have had to Americanize his accent, believably.
Yeah,
among other things. But I could see him pulling that off.
But yeah, I love Reacher. Thank you, Mike Bondra got me turned on to Reacher,
and maybe we will get him back.
Yeah, I was to say, is he still lost in the abyss? I hope we see him return before a cast ends.
It's sad, but Val Kilmer. I will look. Iceman, one of the great part, but still he's not the lead actor in that. Doc Holliday. He's not.
Okay, you're bringing up also another phenomenal point about Val Kilmer.
Supporting actor.
You're about to lead me to a point. And know what?
Thank God.
Wayne Gretzky's still going to have his point record off of his assists.
What does that have to do with this?
So the point record wasn't in jeopardy, that it was just the
goal.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The guy who comes in for the assist still gets the point and still can win the fucking game and still get the record. And Val
Kilmer being a supporting actor versus
mate, your own quote. Well, maybe he was a great supporting actor. That's the job. The guy who gets the assist to the lead.
I'm sorry. I
think I semi understand what he's trying to say.
I do, but I thought we weren't done talking about Val Kilmer or his knowing Blondie.
But my point being, though, Val Kilmer can come in with the assist. Any film that he's been in, I feel like, lead or not, he's made just. It wouldn't have been as good of a film without him.
Well, he was a convincing enough actor that he'd bring a presence, even if the movie wasn't that great. That's Val Kilmer, so it adds a dimension to it. I'm thinking of Island of Dr. Moreau, which was not one of his better ones, but
was he a good Batman? I don't put him in the top 2 or 3, do we?
You know what? I guess the Batman thing, you have so many great Batmans, with the exception of George Clooney. Why did the George Clooney Batman need nipples? Can we address the Batman nipples, the Bat nipples?
Address them, salute them?
Why did the Clooney Batman outfit need to have nipples?
You know what?
What was the functionality?
Ben Affleck was a good Batman.
I liked him. It was just unfortunate that DC at that time had some really bad writers.
Yeah, Ben Affleck's a weird actor. He comes in some real bombs, but other times I think he's great. What was the movie where they're in Boston and they rob the
town?
The Town.
Yes. How good a movie was that?
The Town was amazing.
And Ben Affleck was really good in that. But
what was the movie where they go to save the hostages? They fake being the Canadian Argo. That was sick.
Argo was great too.
Yes.
Yeah, but then he has like terrible movies. What was the
Pearl
Harbor? Pearl Harbor
was bad.
Oh, Pearl Harbor is every history fan, historian, and history buff. There is no film less historically accurate, less correct, less anything to do with the event it is trying to portray than freaking Pearl Harbor. The mockumentary biopic about Weird Al Yankovic had more semblance to the truth
I'm sorry.
than freaking Pearl Harbor. The scene FDR getting at the end of the movie, getting up and walking across the thing. No, that didn't happen. Cuba Gooding Jr. on top of the thing. No, that never would have happened.
All right, you're getting a little excited about this. So, do we want to?
I hate Pearl Harbor.
Is Val Kilmer and Ben Affleck? Who do you rank as better?
Val Kilmer.
Ben Affleck. Well, Ben Affleck was in more movies as Batman. Right. I guess he didn't suck that much.
He was a better actor, better Batman. I'm sorry. And you know what? He too, Good Will Hunting.
That's a personal favorite. That's a top 5.
That's
for me.
You know, that's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I love Good Will Hunting. And you know, when he goes up in the and he's the chief negotiator. Come on, I need a chief negotiator.
Listen, I need this. He's got to get this.
Suspect. We're talking money here. I never saw Val Kilmer do that kind of scene. No. Although, wasn't he in Weird Science or something?
Oh no, that was
Top Secret, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, where he's the young attractive inventor.
Yeah, whatever that was. I
saw that once and it was very weird. I don't remember it too much.
That was a spoof movie like Airplane. Yeah. Wasn't it? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
They were trite. Wow.
Damn.
The New Yorker
is persuaded. Or something. Oh, that's right. She is in Mensa. That's a trite. Look at that. That's a good word.
In 2 weeks, we discuss the dictionary. We love you, Fran. We love you so much.
What was I going to say? So, you know, I mean, look, Val Kilmer's in some cool stuff. I mean, like I said, Doc Holliday, really good movie. And we're leaving out the great music movie. He was right behind
Jim Morrison.
He was Jim Morrison.
That's right.
My favorite biopic. Jim Morrison and the Naked Indian. Yes. My favorite biopic of all time. Again, and I know I just shat on Pearl Harbor for its accuracy, but
Japanese.
But okay, really?
Shot at it.
No, but the character Jim Morrison that Val Kilmer portrayed, I think was masterfully crafted. The author of the Doors biography, No One Here Gets Left Alive, was called into the set to kind of do some consultation and talk. He had known Jim. He was friends with Jim. And when he saw Val Kilmer for the first time, the first thought in his head was, I forgot that Jim was this tall. He's so he became him. And he sang for the entire, anytime that there's a live recording in that movie, that is Val Kilmer singing. He spent about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, getting ready for the role, hanging out in all the haunts that Jim Morrison used to hang out and kind of being in character. He wore his pants. He wore Jim Morrison's clothing to fully kind of get himself into the role. Like he refused to let him. Oops.
Do you know if that's something he asked to do to get into character? Like, his estate was okay with him doing that for the movie?
Yeah, that was the thing. He like actually got the opportunity to get the stuff on hand. He got the stuff on hand. He got to go and kind of, live Jim Moore in the same degree that like Johnny Depp kind of, spent 6 months with Hunter S. Thompson for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Another guy, another master, one of his contemporaries. These guys who just kind of morph into these roles. He didn't want to compromise. He didn't want Val Kilmer to come through. He wanted to be Jim Morrison. And the portrayal, again, even if it's 100% accurate to the real Jim Morrison, the character that we got and that we were presented was so brilliantly written, and then even more so brilliantly presented. And no one else could have done that role.
He looked exactly like him, too.
It's frightening.
No, he did a good job. I mean, he's a really good actor. But I think the thing that he was most proud, and all men should have been proud of, is that Cher said he was the greatest lover of all time, that he was the one guy that she didn't want to let get away. Cher. She was asked, who? Yeah. Who was the guy? Who was the one? And she's like, Val Kilmer, the greatest. Now, that's Cher saying that. That's pretty good. That's big time. That's props.
That's new to me. I never heard of that until now.
And she had a lot of data to go by.
Yeah, yes. Then again, she did sleep with Sonny Bono, so I don't know. You lose some credibility.
She was in a relationship with what's his face? David Geffen. She turned David Geffen straight for a year.
That's a very good
David Geffen and Cher were in an actual relationship.
No, look.
His doc, by the way, you want to watch a great documentary?
No.
The David Geffen documentary. It might even still be on Netflix. That was awesome. He went to one of his friends. He's like, I think I'm in love with Cher. And they're like, David, you're a gay man. Of course you're in love with Cher. He's like, no, I think I'm in love with Cher. That's hysterical.
Well, her outfits certainly show that she can turn back time. And
she certainly can.
I mean, look, she looks good. There's no denying. And, the other thing, like they show some of the old videos of her doing numbers with the beautiful women of the time. They're all dead. She still looks great. She can still wear the outfit. There's the one with her and Raquel Welch. And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. But Rock's been dead for a few years now, and Cher's just looking great. So she's something. But yeah, Val Kilmer, she outlasted him too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, how many of her lovers has she outlasted?
Let's see. There's an Allman that's dead. There's a Bono. Now there's a Kilmer.
So if you dated Cher, don't go skiing.
Well, that was just one person.
Right. That's just one of them.
She's probably mostly made out of plexiglass.
Don't ride a motorcycle. But she's probably not Mother of the Year.
I have to imagine. I know. Well, I know she. Granted, she also was fighting to put her son into that conservatorship because he was blowing through all of his money. Well, on booze and drugs.
It's actually a pretty poor mom that he turned out that way. And
what about her kid that's trans or one of the others?
Yeah. Her,
no, not.
No, that wasn't the one.
Not Chaz. No, not Chaz. Chaz is fine. Yeah, the other son.
Yeah, the Allman son.
Yeah, he's Greg Allman's child.
Like, I don't think she's winning Woman of the Mother of the Year status.
I'm imagining most pop stars aren't.
But where do you get that from? That's not. What are you basing that on?
I feel like there's again, and not even saying that most pop stars are bad mother. I'm just saying I think there's a lot. Are
you saying Britney Spears is not a good mom? Really?
Craig, you had a good argument, and then you took it back.
And then Britney Spears happened, and here we go.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I had to
Hit your baby one more time.
No. What's her name? No more wired hangers, but she wasn't a
Oh God. Oh my. What the hell?
Joan
What?
Crawford.
There we go. No more wire hangers.
So let's move on to basketball.
Yeah, how many basketball players has Cher slept with?
You know, that's a good question. If you were a basketball player and you slept with Cher, can you please come on the show
and explain the experience?
and explain the experience?
That being said, if you're a basketball player, please come on our show.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, no.
We want to talk to you.
But I want to say that the watching this UConn team this season, they were different than the last 4 or 5 years, and the main thing was they were healthy, which really was a big difference. But more importantly, they actually hit shots, because previously Paige Beckers was forced to make shots that she shouldn't have been taking, and this team had Samuels and Fudd and some of the other players that got the offense, let her drive to the hoop, and really changed things. And probably by the last 7 or 8 games of the season, you could tell that these guys were going to make a run, and they were different. And then when they crushed South Carolina in the regular season, which, by the way, why is everybody so like, wow, they destroyed South Carolina in the finals? They destroyed them before the end of the season too, almost the exact same score. So I don't really think it was a surprise. This UConn team had firepower, and they played stifling defense.
She slept with Tom Cruise too?
Paige Becker? I don't think so. That's not the right team for Paige.
We're getting canceled. We're getting canceled tonight.
Well, you did,
it was a great run.
Bottom though, so and then
we're talking about Cher.
It was a good run.
Yeah.
Too much water, buddy. Slow down there.
Whiskey in your water,
But
there we go.
Yes. Where did you get that information about Cher and Tom?
People Magazine. I'm looking at a what was claimed to be a complete list. How old is her current boyfriend? That guy's like my age. What?
Vote?
Yeah, he can vote.
She did sing the song "Turn Back Time." She continues to do that. I mean, what do you want? But back to the basketball. Did you guys actually watch it? Let's go there first.
Nah,
I'm hearing it in the news, but not really a follower. I'm not a big sports guy, but still incredible to hear about.
I was watching the Yankee game, and then I caught the very end of the girls' game. And I don't watch that much college ladies basketball. I watch a little bit, because we live in Connecticut, so I root for UConn. And I've met Gino a number of times. I actually was flying on the plane with them after they won the first championship. So that was very cool. The pilot got on and said, "I'd like to welcome the UConn women's championship squad," and that was really cool. And then when I was taking ring orders a number of times, I guess his kids must have gone to East Lyme High School, and he would be in the lunchroom waiting for them to get out of like sports and stuff. So I talked to him a few times there, and then the last time I saw him was probably 2 years ago at one of Corey's gigs. He was at the
the
Hartford Country Club, which is really West Hartford more than Hartford.
that was one of those moments where I punched you, and you're like, "Why did you just punch me?" And I'm like, "Because I'm pretty sure that's Gino Auriemma over there." And you're like, "That is indeed Gino Auriemma over there."
I went over, I said hello. Like I said, I met him a few times. Not that he'd remember me all that many times, but I have run into him a number of times, and he was at Corey's gig for a while, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, UConn. He's been the coach for 30 years, and he has 12 championships.
Wow.
I think he's missed the Final Four maybe once in the last 25 years or something. It's
insane.
It's no other coach has ever had. Even the great John Wooden didn't have this kind of success. Pat Summitt didn't. And I'll tell you, they were talking to was it Fudd today or yesterday, and I guess one of the Big Ten or SEC teams with that NIL money, they offered her $6.5 million to transfer, and she's staying in UConn for another season. So that says something about this team, and that he's able to keep his players. I mean, look, Paige could have left last year, and I think she's beloved because she was getting $5 million plus in NIL money, and she paid a bunch of the rest of the players on the team. She took care of all of them. So this is a good group of ladies, and Gino must be a really good guy to get the kid, his players stay, and they all come back. You saw him at the game. I saw
the whole squad. Yeah, the whole old squad was there.
Yeah, Stewart was there. They were all there. Lobo was doing the game. It's very impressive what the Connecticut's, both the men's and ladies team. And let's not forget that the Trinity won the Division III NCAA men's championship. So
isn't Trinity also the Gamecocks? I know South Carolina's the Gamecocks, but aren't Trinity also the Gamecocks?
I don't know. That's an easy.
I was about to say I'll
Google search right there.
Yes,
So sorry, go ahead. Can we assume then that the entire UConn campus is currently engulfed in flames and uprooted in fixtures and upturned pickup trucks in celebration?
Is the parade tomorrow? I don't think the parade was today.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. We'll be reading about the millions of dollars of damage that has been done to stores.
No.
I just never understand that, destroying property when you win a championship. What's stupid?
That's Philly after they won the Super Bowl. People climbing up the light towers,
poles,
setting buildings on fire. It's like
they booed Santa Claus. Please,
the Bantams. Excuse me. The Trinity College is the Bantams. The mascot looks just like the Gamecocks.
Okay. I'll trust you. Doesn't look like the bird.
It looks like a big bird.
Pigeon. The cloud pigeon of the Dilemma Band.
By the way, just in from boots on the ground at UConn as we speak. They started bolting all the light posts into the ground after the men's team won in 2023. Big police presence. Listen.
Let me guess. Mr. Cleary just sent you that.
Absolutely did. So there was surprisingly little fire.
Yet. Well, it's raining out, so probably good.
You know what? To a degree, thank God it was like kind of not nice. Because who knows? Then again, I've seen, it maybe just the guys at Trinity just go harder than at UConn, but I've seen those guys at frat parties in disgusting weather not care. If there's a blizzard during a snowstorm or during a rainstorm, I don't think it matters.
You do enough fireball shots, you're really not thinking about the weather.
No.
All I know that when we've been at the Trinity, like Corey played there, was not this Friday, the Friday before, outdoors. It was cold, and there were young ladies there who if their fathers saw that how they were dressed, they would have been very, very upset. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, it is freezing. I am like in a coat, hat on, gloves, and these girls are not wearing much clothes. That's all I have to say.
That's not just a shirt.
that was
well, again, yeah, as Dave said, when you're, 5 fireball shots deep and, you've been riding, the nasal polar express, you're not feeling pain.
They had some pregame going on.
Clearly.
It's a fun scientific fact. Alcohol, of course, lowers your inhibitions. It also lowers your body temperature, but somehow it makes other people hotter.
Radiating off.
That's a very classic joke or saying that I remember.
I wish I could take credit for that, but I am sharing it from someone else.
I recall the line that someone else might have said, I never went to bed with someone who wasn't attractive.
I've only woken up with them.
So it's amazing what a drink or two will do for you or harm you in such horrible ways.
Or do to you, or what you do to us.
Yeah, whatever that would be.
There's going to be plenty of drinking at UCONN.
But speaking of cold and ice, Corey, what else happened on Sunday?
So yes, no, actually to celebrate, just like the man himself. My Coors Light here. Even though it was against my Islanders, even though it went against my boy Ilya Sorokin, his fellow countryman as well. Alex Ovechkin etched himself into the precipice of history. He has carved himself in stone into with the hockey greats. Beating a record no one thought ever achievable. 895 goals, beating out the great one, Wayne Gretzky's 894. He did it in one more game than him. He tied the record in exactly the same number of games, by the way, which is frightening.
And he could have beaten it. He chose not to take an open netter.
So yeah, he had the opportunity at the end of the game to beat the record that night and not just tie it in front of, but there was an open net opportunity, but the man has class. The man's got taste. He's old fashioned. He said, that's not how I'm getting my record. That's not how I'm going to do it. And in one more, to make it even crazier and cooler and show how good of a guy Alex Ovechkin is, there is a rookie on the team who had never had an NHL goal. He says, I'm not leaving the bench. And he points at him, go. So this kid gets to, on the night that, probably his hero, his teammate gets to, meet up at one of the great statistics. He gets to finally have something of his own. This dude is a class act, and he deserves nothing but praise.
About the hockey ceremony, it was very classy. Wayne Gretzky came out on the ice
in his Gordie Howe pin. Yeah, by the way,
the Gordie Howe pin, because he broke in Gordie Howe's record. And it was a planned 11 minutes that they had.
Yeah, the Islanders knew more likely than not it was probably going to happen, so they had a 10-minute ceremony prepared and ready to go.
Now I gotta say, Gretzky's wife,
Mrs. Gretzky.
Wow,
Wayne, she's the fucking great one.
That share blood in her, because I remember her as a kid when she was part of the dance group Motion with Denny Terrio. It was one of those Saturday night shows that when your parents went out and you had nothing to do and you were with your babysitter, you watched that, and you watched Dionne Warwick and
Solid Gold.
Solid Gold.
Yes.
I watched that.
And the show after was with Denny Terrio, and I forget the name of the show. Someone help me on that. Lisa, if you're watching, help me. But she's got to be in her mid to to late 60s.
Yet
And-
another reason why that man is the fucking great one.
Yeah, he is the great one because she
That
looked
makes me
great.
the greater one.
The greater one. I got to tell you, she came out and she had he had mentioned that Gordie Howe's wife gave his wife a beautiful, lovely gift that they had planned out to give to her, and she had brought a gift from Miss Ovechkin also, who, by the way, is a stunningly beautiful woman as well.
Ovi, baby.
Yeah, no, it doesn't
Well
suck to be a hockey player. I mean, they seem to get some
yeah.
very beautiful women. So, you might not have any teeth left when you play, but you get some beautiful women. So it's not a bad thing to be a professional hockey player. But yeah, it was a really cool ceremony. Gretzky gave a great speech, talked about the Islanders while he was there, and said
that was
him because he lost way too many games there. Said he hung out with Brian Trottier, which was really cool.
Oh, and don't forget about Butch
Goring.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he got booed a little bit when he said the officiating, they do great jobs. And then they
the fucking the commissioner of the league. He's an asshole. I mean, a hole.
Gary?
He's a dick.
We were
Gary,
close to getting an NHL sponsorship, and then you talk. Why is Dave? I can't hear Dave.
All right, I was gonna say it's weird when your 7-second delay has a 7-second delay.
15-second delay, basically all around.
Do you think we have that kind of fucking budget?
Yeah, well,
you can afford the equipment, but not the timing. That's a weird budgetary problem.
Which, oh my God! So, have you guys done your taxes yet?
Yeah.
Sadly,
I have sadly not, and I was doing it today. Wow, things aren't good when your broker calls you 3 times in the day and says, "Do you want to sell today? Do you want to move stuff into bonds? Do you want to?" And I'm like, "Nah, let's ride it out. It is what it is. Let's do what we got to do." Meanwhile, I have pages and pages of deductions that I'm trying to go through on the credit cards. I added up the mileage. It's pages because I have so many different credit cards that I assign for different things. And, we have the IHG. So we have the IHG card where all the Holiday Inn. So I put that in. And then I have the Best Western card. I put that in. Then there's the Hilton card. Then there's the Marriott card. Then there's the Capital One Venture X card. And then there's the Shell card. And then I'm starting to go through all
so many pages, but none of them Becker.
Yeah. Well, then there's the Dilemma corporate card. Then there's the Sono Studios corporate card. And I'm going through all the corporate cards, and I'm starting to add up all these figures, and I'm starting to get a little nauseous. Then I go through, I'm looking at all the 1099s. Corey must have 90 1099s there.
Oh,
and
rock and roll, right?
And it's, and I'm probably underestimating. It's probably more than 90.
It's it's so rock and roll and punk rock. Paying your taxes. Yeah. Sick.
Like classic rockers sang all those songs about deductions.
Oh my God.
Because I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man.
Well, you also,
Probably,
and then, I'm trying to go through, okay, here's all of Corey's mileage. Here's my mileage. And then you got to break down what's business versus what's personal. It's very difficult. And then you have the computer issues. Like, why doesn't this computer open up this credit card? And then I have a complaint. Why don't all companies at this point who are credit card companies have a year-end summary? Like, some do. Like Capital One. God bless Capital One.
Love you, Capital One. Capital
One, one, you should promote this show, but 2, Capital One. Don't say bad things about Capital One now, Corey. We might have something going here. But Capital One.
What's in your wallet?
Hey, I have about 5 Capital One cards. They all have a year-end summary. It breaks it down. So you have your travel, you have the business expenses, you have your restaurant. It breaks it down beautifully for you. What a great company. Why doesn't everybody do that? Citibank, I have nice things to say. Their stuff also was good. And then there's companies like Wells Fargo that just make it. They have it, but it was so hard to find. It took me a half an hour to find it, to figure out how to download the PDF to get a summary of it. And I still haven't broken it all down yet. But it's
insanity.
It blows. And it really is worse when you're losing money. Record crumbles during this lovely run of stock market here. But I'm doing my taxes Saturday, so I will not be in a good mood probably every day this week.
Wait, Saturday. What time do we have to go?
I think 2:00.
You chose Saturday at 2:00 to do our taxes.
Yes. See, that's when he was available. And it's due on the 15th. So I was trying not to pay as long as I can, but it is what it is. So we do have these issues. And then we get to go to Passover.
And why is this night different than all other nights?
Because
once he's back, actually, Dave Sheehan is a survivor of a Riemann Seder.
That's right. Dave was there, I think, last year, right?
He was once, and I guess he's currently somewhere. But
his
by the way, James, do you guys have a Seder to go to?
I will be in Alaska.
That's right. You're going to be.
No,
you're
not
You're going to be on a cruise while we're talking about the Titanic.
Thanks. Thanks for putting that image in my head.
As I said, it could be worse. You could be a 7-year-old going to see the Poseidon Adventure at a drive-in theater.
So yes, I will most likely not be doing Dilem-Monday next Monday because I'll be on the cruise.
Yeah, no, like on the one hand, that'd be hysterical. We get a 5-minute appearance from you on a ship while we're discussing that, but also probably not the move.
Fly an iceberg.
With an iceberg, nonetheless, too. Not like this bunch of glaciers, all that fun stuff.
So I am so excited that you're going on that cruise because, as I told you, Lisa and I are going on the Alaska cruise in July.
I will send pictures. I'll let you know how everything is.
No, I'm extremely excited. Yeah, let me know. What different tours you went on, and so it's probably going to still be a little cold when you're there.
I'm assuming it's probably going to be like in the 30s or something like that up there.
So your dress mode is going to be
a little
confusing.
You're going to have to bring a lot of layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like probably just prepare like if it's like the winter time over here.
So where do you fly out to start off?
We're flying out to Seattle on Friday, which, by the way, is the first time I've been on a plane in like 23 years. So I have no idea what to even experience.
Is it a direct flight?
Yep, direct flight from Logan all the way to Seattle.
Okay,
that's not bad.
A 5-hour flight. That's not that bad.
Nah, I kind of wish I was in Seattle a little bit longer. I think we're there for like half the day, but Seattle was one of those towns I actually really wanted to go to.
So that's the next question. So, all right, what ports do you go straight to Alaska, or do you stop in like Vancouver or any place?
I think one place we're stopping is it's like in Victoria.
Victoria, which is right outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, I don't know the exact places on top of my head, but it's just like a bunch of different like. There's going to be like glaciers, like beautiful mountains. One of the excursions we're doing is that we're going on a tram on top of a mountain and just hiking it down, which I'm pretty excited for, even though I'm scared of heights, but got to get over it one way or another.
Yeah, or another.
Exactly. But no, I'm excited. I need to get away from the East Coast for a little bit too. Just
I feel you.
No, like I said, I'm super excited, for the most jealous and great reasons, because I will be there in July. But
speaking, by the way,
more flowers than you will. But
I was going to say, you mentioned Seattle. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say, you mentioned Seattle, and we've been talking about, things that happened in the last couple days. April 5th, was with the Seattle in mind, was the 31st anniversary of the passing of Kurt Cobain.
Right.
So, Dave, do you remember where you were when you found out?
I think I was home just watching TV. My brother came in and told me. And actually, it's interesting that it's been longer since he passed than he lived.
He was alive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I remember we did a Dilem-Monday on the 27th anniversary of his passing.
Okay.
And he was 7.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I saw you looking up at this guy like, what is he talking about?
I was about to ask Corey where he was, but I just didn't.
Yeah.
27, by the way, the same age as
Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah, the 27 Club. Yeah, I know he's.
I'm going to admit that no idea. Didn't give a shit.
I was not alive yet.
Yeah, half of this group was not. We got that.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm trying to. So obviously, Dad, your big death during your lifetime, I'm assuming, is John Lennon. I'm assuming that's of the rock stars that died of your, because even Elvis, you were only you were still like a kid.
I would tell you no. Elvis was a bigger to me.
Yeah.
No, Elvis was
because you were just not quite a teenager, if I remember, just from you talking about your age. Yeah. So you would have been, that would have been pretty impactful, I would think.
Yeah, I know.
You were 12. That was what, 77 that he died?
Yeah, I was 12 years old. So
I guess so.
Remember,
you're that weird age. That you were that real weird age that Elvis might impact you a little more than John Lennon.
Yeah, no, Elvis was a much bigger impact for me than now if you'd ask Mike Bondra, he would tell you definitely John Lennon. But to me, remember, I really missed the Beatles. I was born in 65. By the time I was listening to music, the Beatles had already broken up. So Elvis was a much bigger figure to me. That's why I'm a much bigger fan. I was a Wings fan, and Paul McCartney was my favorite Beatle, more because I saw Paul McCartney. He was definitely more prevalent than John Lennon. And
James, I'm trying to think who even could possibly in our lifetime have
Michael Jackson and Prince.
I guess Michael Jackson's probably, but even still, remember, he was already a legacy artist at that point for us. With the things with Kurt Cobain, with the thoughts of Kurt Cobain, he was still in the midst of his prime. I'm trying to think, because I think
Prince was just ready to start one of the biggest tours there ever was going to be.
That is true. I'm just trying to I'm trying to put in, and again, I guess Elvis in the same regard was already legacy by. Though not really.
So remember, he had his Vegas show. He was gigantic in Vegas.
Still,
and his movies. So you got to also put in perspective that those, what some people thought were terrible movies that I loved because they had pretty girls in bikinis. It was fun. Elvis movies were always great. He always won in the end. He got the pretty girl. It was fantastic. See, France got Elvis there. No, definitely Elvis for it. It's not even in the same. I do remember the night John Lennon died. I remember Howard Cosell.
Perhaps the most famous of all the Beatles, John Lennon, shot dead tonight or this evening in New York City.
Mike Bondra has a great,
oh my God, we got to figure out his technology.
Yeah, because Mike was at a bar, and I think someone said something disparaging about Mr. Lennon, And I don't think that Mike allowed that man to get out.
I'm pretty sure, if I recall, it was good. Who cares about that hippie or something to the degree of that?
And
I can imagine Mike Bondra in the prime of his hockey playing is not a guy I want to be on the other side of a fist on.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so Mike might or might not have laid the guy out.
Is Mike still trying to fax StreamYard to get back in?
He sent me a thing before. I just can't get the sound to work.
Corey, would one possible person, like you're saying, struck down in the prime in your era, possibly Amy Winehouse?
That would probably, it's got to be the closest. Because again, that 27 club thing, still in her prime.
Very much.
I mean, I know for us, I mean, Mac Miller dying.
Mac Miller, that's right. That was, I wasn't even a big, that's right. Yeah, because I remember, I was never like Mac Miller was a really cool hip hop artist. Again, obviously I'm not the biggest hip hop fan, but like he was really cool, nice Jewish boy.
I don't care.
But but like
Ariana Grande for a bit.
Pete Davidson's the reason why he's dead.
Wait, what?
Pete Davidson's the reason why he's dead.
Bobby had Freddie Mercury there.
Because we just missed out on that one.
Him, yeah. He died in 91?
91. Yeah.
Remember 91?
Yeah. He was, I think he was like the first big rock star that was lost to AIDS.
Oh, he definitely, yeah. I mean, the first movie star was like Rock Hudson.
Yeah.
The big controversy was that in the Dynasty show, he kissed, oh, geez. What the hell was her name? Crystal was her name in Dynasty. One of the
all the stars of that. I know the title. Linda, someone.
Linda Evans. Good job, Dave. Linda Evans. Who
not a random woman's name.
Yeah, was one of the 3 wives of John Derek, Bo Derek, Linda Evans, and Ursula Andress.
Oh, wasn't she a Bond girl?
Yes, she was. Yeah, no, this guy. He played Joshua in the 10 Commandments, and he was ripped, and he got 3 perfect, all 3 who looked exactly the same. The minute you aged out at about 34, 35, he got another one.
I don't want to hear about aging out at 34 or 35.
Life expectancy is longer now.
Age out at 34, 35.
Unless you're Cher, and then you just turn.
Right, if you're Cher, it's 95.
Cher hasn't turned back time; she's turned it off.
Right, exactly. I think she still wore that fishnetty thing.
Yeah, at the SNL concert, I'm like, damn.
So the other one. And the drummer of Kiss.
Yeah, that I remember that was like a big controversy because MTV didn't mention anything.
Really? Kiss
about
than Queen?
Wow. Yeah. That's a big one.
No, listen, the Kiss Army is possibly, if not with the exception of maybe the Deadheads, the most devoted of all of the fan bases. The Kiss Army stands strong. So yeah, I understand that. And I remember that day that I remember from seeing interviews that Gene came out just ripping Rolling Stone, ripping VH1, ripping MTV, because they're like, I get it that Freddie Mercury died, but listen, this man is this is our guy in one of the biggest bands in the world, and you're gonna say absolutely nothing. We just lost our friend, our bandmate, and a guy that millions of fans around the world look up to. That's crazy.
I'm gonna throw another thing at you. The day died.
The same thing, Craig.
Yeah. The girl that I dreamed about for many Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, I mean that was crazy. I mean,
and then you remember that. And that month was horrible. I remember there were a billion celebrity deaths. I remember right after that, Billy Mays died.
Yeah, in 2009, there was a bunch.
Walter Cronkite died that week, I'm pretty sure. A lot of huge people. It was
Well, Prince and David died pretty close to each other, right?
Who and David Bowie?
He died in 2016.
It was about a 6-month period between the two of them.
Okay.
David Bowie! Fuck!
That's
I have a fucking picture of him over there!
Yeah, but again, he had been
already a legacy, yeah.
I know that I can't think of any offhand, but there's a number of cases in history, like what Craig just brought up, where two celebrities like died within hours of each other, and one kind of just dwarfed the other in the news. I know I can't think of any, like the
when you think about Farrah Fawcett in the 1970s,
yeah,
her pinup is, I still think, the most successful of all time in the brown bathing suit.
At least one of them, yeah.
It wasn't red. That was brown.
To me, it was brown. I don't know.
Greg got a knockoff. It was cheaper. It was brown. The color of the bathing suit.
It's half priced.
Corey, I got another one for you. Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Because he committed suicide, and then Chris Cornell.
Talk about feeling numb.
Too long right after that too.
I remember that. Yeah,
I remember when that.
Okay, I've got a list of celebrities who died on the same day as each other. So I think as a history nerd, I think the one that's the craziest to me, John Adams and can you let me finish?
Oh, I know where he's going.
Can you fucking let me finish? John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died within hours of each other on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, there's got to be that had to be planned.
And the last words Adams ever utters is "Jefferson survives," because he did not know that hours prior his greatest frenemy of them all had passed away.
Didn't Monroe also die on July 4th?
James Monroe died on the 4th of July, and Calvin Coolidge was born on the 4th of July.
But I think Monroe was a different calendar year. Correct?
Yeah, it was a few years later. I've got here, Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett. Here's an interesting one from the ends of very odd filmmakers and people in films. Federico Fellini died the same day as River Phoenix.
Okay.
That's just not that big a deal to me. I'm sorry.
I mean, the River Phoenix
but in terms of the news items, it seems like I think Phoenix was younger and more popular, and that was very unexpected. So
and then
left Fellini.
We're talking about literally two different ends of a spectrum at that point. Margaret Thatcher died the same day as Annette Funicello.
Okay,
beach movies, and the Prime Minister.
That's she's been dead long enough that she's been both dead and out of office long enough she's considered history, not politics at this point.
Yeah.
A controversial prime minister and a not as controversial pop star.
Battle.
Well, you can go fuckland yourself.
Yeah, she had a momentary battle there.
I'm kind of in the same boat, but I mean, I don't know if the younger folks here will remember. There was a popular comedian who Latino, went by the name Senor Wences. He was popular like in the 50s, 60s, like on Ed Sullivan, just lived to be over 100. And he died, I think he was like 102, 103. He died the same day as the Columbine shootings. So his, you never heard about that news.
April 20th, 1999. That's the first news story I remember. Well, it's literally the first news story I have like in my consciousness, I think, is because that would have been before the election, right?
What election? It was in the spring.
2000.
Yeah. So it would have been. It would have been before the
memory before that. You seem like somebody who would have choreographed your own birth, but I'll take your word.
But that was the Columbine. And again, I had little idea of like the context, obviously, of what was going on. Like I knew about like war and that's like in my head as like a 3 or 4 year old. I know that you don't get to tell me what my perspective of things. I was there too, but that was as a 4-year-old. Again, in my head,
you were there? Is that what you just said?
Well, no. My thing was watching the news and getting it. My perspective as like a 4-year-old, soldiers had guns. you know, the only time that people like, you know, you had guns and stuff was like war and soldiers and cowboys and stuff like that. The idea for me that just people had guns and would do something, it was such an abstract concept for me at that moment. It was weird. It's weird. It's kind of strange. The earliest memories of it, I don't remember. The second one that always pops in my head of stories that I like news stories. I remember you know, I remember more the impact of this one. I remember for years, the years following with Diana dying, Diana, Princess of Wales, her and Dodi Fayed, I remember just the years of the stories afterwards. And then 9/11.
Where I was that night. I was at my mother-in-law's house, and we were watching TV, and they interrupted one of her shows, and she was all upset. She goes, "Who cares what happened to that stupid princess?"
Well, because it wasn't that she died. They didn't know she died yet, right? Wasn't that the whole thing?
Who cared? She interrupted her show. And then when it came out that she died, I'm like, don't you feel bad now? How horrible of you. Just because Knots Landing was stopped in the middle of the show. But yes, I do remember that moment. I remember that, you know, my earliest memories probably of was the Man on the Moon. That was pretty big. I remember watching that. I remember the soldiers coming home from Vietnam. That was another really big, really like, because every night you'd sit there with Uncle Walter, you know, Walter Cronkite, and you know, because it was really only a few stations, and you know, I'd sit there with my mom and dad, and you'd watch the TV every night. Man. And I remember going to San Francisco in 1970, and all the hippies were there, and it was kind of surreal because I was watching these people, you know, on TV, and then I'm trying to get on a cable car as a 5-year-old with them. It was wacky, but those would be my earliest, you know, that stand out and that you remember, kind of thing. Yeah. I'd imagine you guys, Corey and James.
9/11
would have been 9/11.
It's huge. Well, I lived in Teaneck in New Jersey.
That's true, yeah.
And that was like the only thing that they kept showing. It was like my parents tried everything they can. Like, James, don't put on the news, and all they just kept on showing was the plane hitting the World Trade Center. I'm like you can't get away from this. I'm like, I had no idea.
I can remember that day clear as crystal. I think that's the first day full. Like, actually, I had plenty of other days, but like that's the first big day, like news story where I like. It wasn't kind of like the Columbine thing where I have like kind of like, you know, like, oh, what's going on? Like 9/11, I remember. So where I'm sitting right now, there used to be a big TV and entertainment system. My friend's mom picked us up from school, I guess when the news came out. And she didn't say anything in the car. And I, even as like a almost 6-year-old, I knew something wasn't right. Because it was like suspicious to the degree that she wasn't saying anything. I'm like, why am I being pulled out of school at 11 o'clock in the morning? What is this? And I get home and I remember our laundry room used to be right over there. And I will never forget walking in through the hallway, coming into this room. My mother was doing the laundry. I literally can remember the piles of laundry on the floor of her organizing and sorting and just seeing on TV what had just happened. And it must have been, and it was well before 11 o'clock. I can remember that because it must have been right after you guys called us out. Or I don't know if she called you guys to say, I'm going to go get the kids. It must have been because what? The first tower hit what? 9 something in the morning?
I was listening to Howard Stern.
So by 9:30 in the morning, I'm home. So by the time the second tower and the rest of the attacks happen, I remember one of the attacks must have just happened. I remember walking in, seeing the footage, and I remember asking my mother distinctly,
I think the second
is this history?
It happened after that because I was on the road and I was listening to Howard Stern. I was on my way to Waterford High School. I remember that we were discussing custom caps and gowns that day with my friend Don Macrino, who was the principal at the time.
Who I want to get on this show.
Yeah, I'd love to have him on the show. he would be amazing because
that man's got
he has some
stories.
Yeah, but in any case, when the first plane hit, it was kind of, they were joking about it, kind of like at the Empire State Building, one of the planes had hit the one time. So they're kind of goofing on it. And then as the morning went on, it got solemn, and it was the first time Howard went from being just a moron to taking the thing really seriously.
He was a hero that day, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I don't know if you want to call it a hero, but he definitely did a very good job reporting what was going on. And Al Michaels, the sports guy, Al was right over there. I think he had an apartment not too far away, and he called in and was starting to broadcast with Howard. Now, I also remember walking in to Waterford High School. They had already had a TV on, and they were trying to take care of what they were going to do with the students, because understand the nuclear facility is right over there. They have the sub base not far from there. And literally, as I walked in the door, the second plane smashed into the tower.
Oh, jeez.
And I remember the secretary, may she rest in peace, I know she's passed away. She started losing.
You didn't tell me that. I didn't know that.
It's not who you think it is. It was. That's
oh, okay. Okay.
But she
that would have made me really upset.
She didn't handle it well. She started screaming, and Don had to go in my office. You're gonna calm down.
We can't let anyone see you.
We can't let anybody see this. He was great. He got on the loudspeaker. He explained what was happening. He gave the option of those who wanted to watch the TV into the cafeteria area. Those who wanted to continue with class. We're not going to judge you. You watch people who are leaders and born leaders and take control. And I watched Don Macrino that day.
Don Macrino is one of the greatest men I have ever met in my life.
He took control that day, and he asked me if I could stay a little while to help out, and I did, and that's how I knew that you got picked up and what was going on and stuff like that.
Actually, can I ask you? Because I've never asked. What was that when Robin called you, or what happened? Who called who? What happened? Because that's
she called Mom and said she was picking you up, and then
she just knew I'm picking them.
Well, she was picking up her kids, and she said,
"I'm bringing Corey and Alicia too."
Your kids home too. But I also recall, not recall, but we lost all the cell towers. So the cell phones.
Yeah, that was the.
Yeah, and my brother-in-law was working down in that exact area at that time, and I was really worried that something happened to him. At least his cousins were there. If you're from New York, you were hard pressed not to have someone that was in that building or in that surrounding area that day. And I
know you don't look at. I know Wantagh High School used to do the "Where's Everybody" books. I know you haven't opened that probably in 25 years because of it.
No, I know a number of people that I went to school with that didn't make it that day. Yeah, there's a few. One of my friends' husbands also. Well, actually, two of my friends' husbands died that day in the tower. So look, people don't realize Boomer Esiason, the quarterback, had he not done Monday Night Football that night before, his office was in Cantor Fitzgerald, which was on the top of one of the trade centers. Had he not done that game, he would have been there that day. It was just that was crazy. And what, the night before, Mom and I were at the U.S. Open Finals.
What was your ominous famous quote?
New York's a great place. None of these horrible things ever happen here. Yeah, no, that was crazy just turn of events of the world. But when you think of the moments that you remember, and you'll remember where you were, and back to the Ovechkin goal, I saw it with Corey Riemann, Keith.
I got to watch it with my dad and my best friend. That's
So we watched that goal, and it was funny because I wasn't in the room most of the time, and then I walked in, was there for like 5 minutes, and I got to see the goal.
just saw the two of us looking like little kids, just like,
hey, he did it. I was excited. I got to see Gretzky. That was even cooler.
that was God, and just Wayne Gretzky, just that man has never said anything that wasn't just as though it wasn't written by a script, and you can tell that everything the dude says comes from his heart. It's just, there's a reason he's the great one. Truly.
Well, there's guys like him and Derek Jeter, Aaron Judge, that just always say the right thing. And then there's people like Alex Rodriguez, who always says the worst thing. Never right. LeBron James, those guys aren't. They don't use the best.
Know what? I never give LeBron credit, but know what? He said some very, very nice things about and to Alex Ovechkin. He was the only time in my life I've ever seen the man be humble.
He just said it so he could hear more about his own record.
Actually, real quick, what about a year for records being broken?
LeBron did it the year before.
Was it 2024?
Yeah.
Either that or 2023. Oh, you're talking about the all-time scoring record? I think
Kareem's record.
Yeah, he did it a few years ago. It's already.
I was in Jersey because I remember I saw the picture on Twitter and I sent it to my dad. I was like, "What's one thing you noticed about this picture?" And it's just everyone has a cell phone out. I'm like, "You're just basically ruining the moment by doing that."
They don't do that anymore.
It's
Actually, this is an old comment from Fran, but what was another one? Because if I can pick your brain, so you're what? This is 72. This is 72, 73. So you're 7 or 8. Do you have any?
Oh no, I remember all that. I remember saying, "This is a really cool looking hotel. When are we going to stay there, Mom and Dad?"
I really want to stay at the water. Like that is one of the for the 30th birthday tour. I think a night at the Watergate is
a 30th birthday tour.
Hell yeah, I'm going on. I'm doing all the little trips, all the little. I'm using the excuse of 30 years of being on this earth to get shit done. I mean, done.
I have no idea what I'm doing for my 30th. Honestly, I haven't planned it out.
Go to Watergate.
I'll get a head start on Watergate. I'll let you know how it is.
Dude, I was gonna say, yo, you and me, DC, we go to the fucking Watergate.
All right, sure. Sign me up for that.
I do, but I remember that. And it was really weird because all the guys that were in the White House that you'd see on TV every day were getting arrested, and then, Ehrlichman, Mitchell.
I was gonna say the baddest bitch of them all, Margaret Mitchell. They gaslighted her. They told her she was crazy. They drugged her. They said don't say anything. But nah, with the baddest of the baddest bitch energy, Margaret Mitchell said, "All of you."
Yeah. So,
yeah.
That again. It's weird now because you have a gazillion stations to watch and tons of news networks.
Can you imagine CNN and Fox News with Watergate?
Yeah, but that was CBS, and I say CBS because they dominated the news network so greatly at that time.
And here's the news.
There was an ABC and an NBC, but Walter Cronkite was the man. You listen to Walter. I know Harry Reisner, I think, was on ABC. And
was NBC always just geared towards fun and not being the other two?
Hugh Downs, I think, might have been the newscaster at that point. I'm not, or Barbara Walters. Barbara was still in the morning at that point. The Today Show. That was. But I definitely remember Harry Reisner, and I definitely remembered obviously Walter Cronkite, and then Dan Rather would be on not as the main guy, but Dan Rather would be the guy in the field. He was in Vietnam. He was at the White House. You know, he was that guy at that point. Yeah, Bobby Roberts. Bobby's saying Hugh Downs. Hugh Downs had a great voice. I will say that. And he did the show eventually with Barbara Walters. Hugh Downs. Yeah, it was an interesting time. Like I said, there were 3 stations, but it was really one. I think CBS, you know, I don't think they ever lost a ratings at that point. Plus, they had all a Sunday night. You know, they had All in the Family and the Jeffersons, and you know, you watch CBS. And then my father used to make me watch Lawrence Welk. It was horrible.
He was on that late into. I associate him with like the 50s. I know his show ran a long time.
No, it's unfortunate. It probably lasted until the 80s.
This is we have a very nice number from a lovely pop group.
Do they still sell Geritol? That's all I need to know.
Okay.
And what does Geritol do?
Can we just say you know, the fact that Fred Armisen got away for the SNL 50th doing a Lawrence Welk sketch was hysterical to me.
I remember the one dancer. It was Sissy and I forget the other. Yeah, Ed Sullivan, the Ed Sullivan Show. That was great. My favorite were the Dancing Bears, and when they did the spinning,
really big show.
Yeah. No, they did the spinning plates.
Really
the guy would like have 50 plates spinning around and bears, and it was. Yeah.
Actually,
through Elvis and the Beatles, it was the Dancing Bears that were cool. And Ed Sullivan.
Actually, you know those memories you have that are just like kind of like just in your head that just like kind of have real estate there. I remember you taking me to a Beatles cover band in Las Vegas, and the guy who introduced, and they do 2 sets or 3. It was 3 sets if I'm not mistaken. You know, the early Beatles in there, you know, with the mop tops and the suits, and then like the Sgt. Pepper, and then like the late Beatles. I remember the beginning of the show. The guy who's like the MC who introduces it was supposed to be Ed Sullivan.
Yes, thank you, Fran.
But yeah, and I remember the MC of the show was Ed Sullivan, and he comes out with a really, really big show. And I remember him as a prop, he pulled a hanger out of his jacket because of there's a really big show. It's a really big show tonight.
You know what I remember about that show at the very end?
You caught a
T-shirt. There was one T-shirt thrown out into the crowd. They threw it out, you know, a Fab Four T-shirt.
And that poor college kid had to do laundry the next day because of you.
And the receiver, football player, MMA, I jumped over, grabbed that thing, and just ripped it out of everybody's hands. That was good. My kid loved the Beatles, and he was getting that damn shirt. So yes, I do recall that. Anyway. It is 9:28.
Damn! I'm pissed. Because tonight flew by. And also, real quick. I'm writing down this real quick. Orson Welles died the same day as Yul Brynner in 1985. Jim Henson, right?
Jim Henson and Sammy Davis, right?
Jim Henson and Sammy Davis Jr. died on the same day.
Yep, I remember that now.
JFK died the same day as C.S. Lewis, and it was the day that the Phil Spector Christmas album was released. Aldous Huxley, the crazy guy, he died the same day as Orville Wright and Mahatma Gandhi. Buddy,
all right.
The day the music died, those guys died in the same thing. I don't think that really counts. Antolini, the filmmaker, died the same day as Ingrid Bergman, the other filmmaker. Shakespeare died on the same day as Cavante, the writer.
Getting a little more obscure now, but still.
All right. Can we end this nonsense?
Eleanor of Aquitaine
on the same day as this.
Genghis Khan died the same day. All right. Dave, give me some. Where are you going to be this weekend?
Friday, Methuen, Massachusetts, Pika's, and then Fairfield Comedy Circle, Fairfield, Connecticut on Saturday, the 12th. And since Corey was talking about his birthday tour, Craig, I think we talked about this before. We're doing a 30th birthday roast for him sometime this year. Yes.
Please. Oh my God. Please. Can that be like my birthday party?
Oh, yes.
Can we please go book a venue and do a fucking roast?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember talking about that with you before. I do believe that has to happen.
Yeah, no, that is a definite thing. We'll have to.
I thought Corey was part of that conversation as he's reacting.
I apparently was not.
Oh,
you know, I have many conversations with Corey that he was absolutely at. No.
You think you have conversations with me half the time?
No. You know, today we had to fill something out about a gig that we have booked on a certain date. And we have absolutely, Corey's like, I was like, it's been on the thing for like 6 months. And good night, friend. And he has no remembrance of this at all. I literally no, I remember the booking. You know, do I remember how much it pays?
That's the only thing.
I remember how much. And I remember
shocking. The only thing you remember is the money.
I remember the money. That's my job.
I literally had because his voice hits the dog whistle pitch.
Yeah, I literally had called. So I knew it was a duo gig, so I called Baby Blues and I said, "Hey, this sounds terrible, but can you give me the information of the gig that I booked you for with Corey?" But anyway, James, what are you plugging besides going away to Alaska?
I figured that's the only memorable thing to be plugging in. He put well, Corey was nice enough to put the podcast down there, so thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Last episode,
new episode.
Yes, we talked about. I shat on the state of New Jersey for a bit. We talked a little bit about Family Guy and awkward first dates.
Geez, I'd like to be on that. I'd like that. We'll have to do that one night too about
awkward first dates.
I feel like every day I'm on an awkward first date with Lisa, so it's tough. It's like 50 first dates every morning as we wake up. I remind her.
Listen, if I could wake up with Drew Barrymore every morning, I would do it.
She's cute.
I love Drew Barrymore. She's great.
She seems very sincere.
She's kind of ditzy. I would be annoyed at some point. Very annoyed.
I love that.
Well,
she's smart. No, she's smart. She's smart ditzy though. Like that's the thing. Like she's not just like blah, 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 blah. No, she's like I love Drew Barrymore. I love Drew Barrymore so much.
She's smartsy.
She is smartsy. She is smartsy.
So Corey,
I was gonna say since you're gonna do it for me anyway, I'm gonna forego my plug for my own events, and I want to say I want to promote an awesome book, a phenomenal graphic novel called Beelzebuds by my boy David Lovelace. This book deserves more recognition than it gets. I want you to go on Amazon right now. It's available. Hit me up if you need the link that's not Amazon. This book was hysterical. It's filled with just this novel, on top of the actual writing, the illustration. This guy, he is the creator of Animal Babies, from way back when, the R-word Animal Babies. If you remember that series on YouTube from like 15 years ago, David Lovelace is the creator of that. He also created this phenomenal book. Check it out, Beelzebuds. David C. Lovelace, I love you. This book deserves as much love as it can get.
And you know what? Before we plug where you're going to be on Friday night, give Johnny one more plug on his product.
Absolutely. We let's get Johnny Cleary his wellness journal. If you want to check that out, make sure to find the links to our last week's episode. You can go there to purchase your wellness journal. Get yourself on your wellness journey today. We love you, Johnny. Thank you so much for coming on last week. Thank you for giving us the boots on the ground report from UCONN this evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, on Friday night, Corey will be back in Rhode Island at the Westerly Yacht Club. They will be having a full band concert, and it will be a really good show. It's the first
really big show.
Really big show. it will be the first time in a month that we are not in Boston for the weekend. It's crazy.
But don't worry, we'll be back the week following.
We will be back the next week. It's do you think we purposely do that just because my daughter lives there? I don't know.
We all know you like her more than me.
But I don't think I've ever said I didn't like her more than you. I think everybody knows that. But that's besides. But no, yeah, Corey's been in Boston every week. By the way, Southern Kin Cookhouse. I hate to say it, but the best fried chicken I've ever had was above the Mason-Dixon line. Yeah, it's in Boston. It really is that good. And oh my God, they have a peanut butter chocolate dark.
That's what I'm gonna eat. That's the second we get off that, I'm having my peanut butter pudding pie.
What was it?
A peanut butter pudding pie.
Oh, just like a Reese's Pieces pie.
Oh,
that is so phenomenally good. And she the waitress, she's a cutie. She comes over and she is one of the best salespeople ever. But she's got a great product. And she's like, you cannot leave this place without eating my pies. Our pies are great.
All right.
And she got me. First of all, if a pretty girl tells me it's going to be, I'm probably going to buy it. So it's really not.
Yes, as my morning jacket would put it, that peanut butter pudding surprise.
Yes. So, but
I know you like my morning jacket.
For the first time in like 10 weeks, not be staying in a hotel this weekend. So this is another phenomenal moment. And yes, it is Passover this weekend. So we will be once again celebrating.
I could hear earlier. I do recall having Passover dinner with you guys last year. I enjoyed that.
Come again. We'll see if you're around. We'll see you then.
Got a gig on Saturday night.
Well, that's your one. Passover is multiple days though. Like,
Sunday. Maybe Sunday.
I'm around Sunday. I think I'm around Sunday.
Let's do a Sunday Seder.
Do it again.
Sure.
This would be phenomenal.
Okay.
And you can see the guitar center that is now built in my living room.
I'm assuming you mean the next one. I've seen the original.
Maybe
no. Okay.
There is now.
Oh,
there is now over 100 guitars.
All right, so probably new wares to view. Okay.
Yes, there is. And there is one on the way.
Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a Michael Kelly, so it would be a boy. It's a Michael Kelly hybrid acoustic electric. It is a very cool guitar.
Nice.
So they make these offers. It's like
Michael Corleone.
It was an offer we couldn't refuse. It was on clearance. It was on less than net clearance. We're a wholesaler, so it was like 20% off of net. So, but it will be for resale. Probably not, but it'll be for resale really shortly. I'm sure Corey will let it go.
I love how when I told he just cracked. I'm like, yeah, no, this one's definitely not gonna not just be mine or anything. And he's like, yeah, totally not. You're totally going to sell this guitar, right? I'm like, I'm totally going to sell this guitar.
Yes. So there will be a sale soon.
Love you, Angel.
Yes. But anyway, all right. It is now 9:39. We're almost 10 minutes past where we should be.
But no, we started 10 minutes late anyway. So look, that's balanced.
It worked out.
Yeah, I have taxes to still do.
Yes, the inevitable is of life.
Yeah, because
death, taxes, and Dilem-Monday next week. We love you all. And wait, real quick, because she just got the comment in. Well, not in sports. We're gonna help you, Fran. We're gonna make things happen.
Yeah,
we love you, Fran.
Was that her Hinge profile summary? What was that?
No. I love you, Fran. You are one of the most wonderful people in the entire world. Your heart is.
She
Yes, please, Fran. One week we would love to have Paper Mache, Richard Nixon, and you on the show. Please.
Alrighty then.
Yes.
Please.
She has paper.
Let's get you on. Let's get
in the car with us.
let's get you and Paper Mache Dick on the show.
On that note, good night, everybody.
Right.
Oh, dear Lord. Idiot.